Hi, my name is Karen, and I'm an American lay student of Ajahn Suchart, or Phra Ajahn Suchart, Abhijato, who's given me his permission to read his books to you for free. Ajahn Suchart's books and talks are always free. Any ads you may see or hear in this recording are put there by Google for its own revenue, in exchange for letting us use their platform for free. Please forgive me for any mispronunciations of names or words and for any background noises, as I'm just making these recordings in my apartment with an unruly dog and otherwise occasional background apartment type noises. So I am reading Against the Defilements by Phra Ajahn Suchart Abhijato. This is recording number 10 of 12, and we are resuming today on page 202. If you want to know about your karma, the amount of good and bad deeds that you have done in your previous lives, you'll need to sit in meditation. Sitting meditation will allow you to recollect any of your previous lives. The Buddha also had the ability to recollect any of his previous lives. However, not everyone who does sitting meditation will develop this ability. It depends on each individual's capacity, the level of their absorption, samadhi. However, to become enlightened or be liberated does not require you to develop your concentration to the extent of recollecting past lives. It only requires you to calm your mind enough to remain equanimous, upekkha. When you withdraw from your concentration, you can readily work on developing wisdom, vipassana. There are two types of people who manage to achieve liberation: ceto vimutti, deliverance of mind, and panya vimutti, deliverance through wisdom. Those with deliverance of mind are the ones who have attained deep absorption with their samadhi and may develop certain special abilities, be they supernatural powers, psychic abilities, clairvoyance, recollection of past lives, and so on. Venerable Moggallana is an example of ceto vimutti. Those with deliverance through wisdom, such as Venerable Sariputra, may not have deep absorption in terms of samadhi. However, their minds are very sharp with comprehensive knowledge. They have the tendency to contemplate things in terms of cause and effect. Those with deliverance through wisdom are able to help others more, in terms of teachings, than the ones with deliverance of mind, as it requires the wisdom faculty, drawing on examples and making comparisons to demonstrate. Certain respectable teachers didn't teach much. Luang Pu Sao, for example, would only give a brief instruction to cultivate precepts, concentration, and wisdom, and let people practice on their own. He wouldn't elaborate much. However, Luang Pu Moon had attained both kinds of deliverance, of mind and through wisdom, just like the Buddha. The Buddha could welcome and handle different people, including heavenly beings, devas. He had the ability to read people's minds. With his astute wisdom, he was able to teach a wide range of people and appeal to each individual's ability and inclination. It's like being able to teach people who are left-handed, ambidextrous, and so on. The Buddha himself had to try and test out everything. Not knowing to which level of samadhi he had to develop, he did it to the fullest extent possible, as he did with his faculty of wisdom. Therefore, he developed and attained the highest level of both faculties. However, having heard this, you should know that you can be liberated without having to go all the way. That is, you are just happy with the liberation through just one faculty and don't need to achieve the highest level of both faculties. That's why each noble disciple has different abilities. Some have expertise in the wisdom faculty, others in samadhi, and some in both. I'm scrolling to the next section, beginning on page 206. Out of ignorance come thoughts, avijja paccaya sankhara, an interconnecting chain of dependent origination, paticca samuppada. That's how mental elements, nama khandas, work. When a view arises, that view will stimulate thinking. For example, seeing that merit making is good leads to an idea of going somewhere to make merit. Such is a mental formation, sankhara. The mind then acknowledges that thought through consciousness, vijnana, which in turn manifests itself as mind-body, nama-rupa, the joining of the five aggregates, form, feelings, memories, thoughts, and consciousness. The mind makes use of the form, or your body, to carry out its volition of going somewhere to make merit. Out of merit making, a sense of happiness arises. With happiness comes a sense of appreciation or liking, leading to attachment of repeating the same action, to becoming bhava, and to birth, jati. Becoming in birth, bhava jati, is equivalent to repeating an action. Being content with one time of merit making will lead to the next time. Being content with having been born in this life will lead you to rebirth after you die, and it just keeps on repeating. That's a brief explanation. Within the mind, there are many steps of dependent origination involved, starting from, and the book then lists in Pali dependent origination, but then also in English. And I'm going to read the English and not attempt the Pali. Out of ignorance come thoughts. Out of thoughts come consciousness. Out of consciousness come mind-body. Out of mind-body come the six senses. Out of the six senses comes contact. For instance, eyes see forms, ears hear sounds, giving rise to feelings. Out of contact come feelings. Out of feelings come cravings. Out of cravings comes clinging or attachment. For instance, longing for the form, the body form, to last and trying to hang on to it. Out of clinging comes becoming, or losing the old form pushes one to look for and replace it with a new one, generating the factors for rebirth. Out of becoming comes birth. Out of birth come sufferings. Such a cycle keeps on repeating itself endlessly, which all comes down to its root cause. If the root cause is ignorance, it will lead you to think in a way of generating factors and conditions for rebirth and death. Your thoughts will revolve around sensual pleasures, fortune, prestige, and praise. But if the root cause is towards Dhamma, your thoughts will be about giving, precepts, and meditation practice, helping you to keep on eliminating sankhara, mental volitions. With your practice, you'll realize that thoughts are very irritating and tiresome. The more you think, the more your thoughts proliferate, and the more agitated you get. If you can stop your thinking, you'll feel at ease. Just keep being aware of how things are. That is the best. Whatever you see, you don't further speculate, and just let things be the way they are meant to. You simply leave them be. You don't form any positive or negative opinions about them. You don't criticize, and so on, which are the result of mental volitions. When you form opinions, you'll generate feelings, be they happy, sad, content, or discontent. These feelings will give rise to craving and desire, leading you to take care of things and get involved with other things. With wisdom, you'll see that things are just the way they are. No matter how much you try to fix or change things, they'll just revert back to the way they were eventually. If you manage to resolve certain issues today, there will just be more or other issues to resolve tomorrow. It's endless. All of these worldly issues and matters are without end, unlike those of Dhamma. Dhamma will suddenly arise as soon as you're aware that you're being too involved or clouded by certain issues or things. You need to detach yourself from them, and you need to take care of and calm your mind by stopping to proliferate. Then that is considered vichapachaya sankhara. Out of wisdom comes right thought. With Dhamma, you won't think of things that bring you turmoil. When you have to think, you'll only think of wholesome things. The Buddha's mind and those of his noble disciples are only full of skillful knowledge and wisdom, Dhamma Pachaya Sankara. They only think of wholesome thoughts, things that are constructive and beneficial. They can let go of their actions. They don't grasp or cling to them because they have wisdom, the right determination to keep things under control. When they come into contact with feelings, they remain equanimous, unaffected by such feelings, and so craving cannot arise. Without craving, there is no attachment to things. All of the enlightened beings' actions are pure in terms of intentions. Their actions are not done out of attachment. They let bygones be bygones. Their actions are only for the sake of others. They don't care if their actions will please others or not being bothered by or holding on to them. Having weighed their volition against the Dhamma, they will do what is beneficial. Other people's criticism and comments don't concern them. Whatever other people may say are words of those unsound. Who could ever imagine of criticizing or making comments about the Buddha and his noble disciples? The Buddha and his noble disciples would never criticize nor judge one another. Only unsound people like you would criticize and make comments about respectable teachers. You'll end up in hell without even knowing it. Your mind will be agitated and sullied by your own criticism and judgments. You shouldn't really criticize or judge any respectable teachers. They are the ones with wisdom. They look at things from various perspectives. Their awareness is much more profound and encompassing than yours. You will see in one dimension or from one point of view. Bearing this in mind will make you happy and at ease, so you don't have to worry about or be concerned with them. You'd better worry about yourself. They are the ones to teach us, and not vice versa. So there is no need for you to worry about them. They are well-rounded and perfect in all senses. Whatever they do is not out of whim or heedlessness like you. They have already thought it through with Dhamma. Ignorance is delusion, whereas Dhamma is knowledge. With Dhamma, your thoughts will only be positive and good. And scrolling to the next teaching, we're going to resume on page 216. Nuns, bhikkhuni, even if they have attained enlightenment, have to pay respect to monks, bhikkhu, including very junior ones, but not to novices, samanera. They only have to pay respect to monks and anyone above. The higher level of Dhamma one has attained, the less self-conceit there should be. Self-conceit doesn't increase with the level of Dhamma. Conceit has an inverse relation to the level of Dhamma achieved. Those who have become enlightened will not be against anything that the Buddha taught or told to perform or practice. A real practice is to lessen the sense of self. The higher level of Dhamma you practice, the less sense of self-conceit and self-importance you'll have, to the extent that they are completely gone. This very self-conceit is the cause of discontent and suffering, dukkha. When somebody doesn't act according to your liking, you'll get unhappy. It's just when you're a boss, being treated by someone as a janitor. But if you don't react, and instead think that it's their issue, it's their own shortcoming to see you that way, not being wise enough or able to notice the difference, and there's nothing you can do. It doesn't even matter if they see you as a servant, because it is their opinion, their perception. But you know in your heart what and who you are. Whatever and whoever you are doesn't mean that others will also have to notice and agree with it. However they see you, you'll still be who you are. The more and higher level of Dhamma you practice, the more content you'll be. You won't long for others to treat you in certain ways. When you reach the highest level of Dhamma, there won't be any craving and desire for anything at all. I heard that Mai Chikao had such a high level of Dhamma, but she would pay respect to any monks who visited her, no matter how junior they might be. She would pay respect to them due to the worldly conventions. Lay people have to pay respect to monks. You have to be alert and able to discern that there is supposed reality, sammuti, and transcendental truth, vimutti, in this world, for instance, transcendence versus conventions. Luangta Mahabua once wrote in the biography of Luang Pumun about his answer to a heavenly being's question concerning sitting arrangements when monks, including those enlightened ones, meet. How do they sit? There were two ways, according to Luang Pumun's answer. In a transcendental sense, no one is superior nor inferior to one another. Whoever comes first just sits in the front. They can sit wherever they want. In a conventional sense, they will have to sit in the order of their number of years in robes, vasa. Even if they're enlightened, they can't sit in front of an unenlightened but more senior monk. So it is the same with going on alms round. The more senior but unenlightened monks will be ahead of and lead those more junior but enlightened ones. It is not a concern, as the enlightened monks will be able to discern and understand the difference between conventions and transcendence. It is all a matter of your heart and mind. Nobody might know who or what you are. No matter how many years you have been ordained, you still have to act according to the conventions. It is the same in the case of any child and their parents. Some children are higher than their parents in terms of merit and mind level, but they don't hold on to the idea that they are wiser or better. They still pay respect to their parents and anyone more senior, even with their superior knowledge and abilities, which are a different matter. People these days tend to be self-conceited. When they gain prestige, they suddenly see little significance in their parents, all because of their delusion. But those with wisdom, such as His Majesty the King, when he was with his mother in private, he would still pay respect to her as his mother. But when he was in public, being on his throne, the king's mother would have to sit below him. There are many levels of conventions. It is one thing in public and one thing at home or in private. You have to act appropriately or in line with the culture and traditions. It is not a big deal. It is as if you're acting. You might have to play a lead role in one and a villain in another. You just have to act according to the script. It is only acting. So as long as you don't get attached to your role, there won't be any problem. You can play any role, a beggar, a servant, or a millionaire. It all depends on their request and decision as long as they pay you. You're basically an employee, so whatever they hire you to do, then just do it. This is what it means to be detached, but still aware of where you stand in terms of ranking, and what is virtuous or not in terms of action. When you are in a situation and have to follow certain procedures, then just do it. Don't think that you are more special than others and need to be treated differently. If they don't know who you are, how can they treat you properly? Some people mistreat you out of their own ignorance, but they apologize to you once they've found out. There's no need for you to hold grudges at all, bearing in mind that it's just how it is with worldly matters. Praise and gossip are everywhere, so you have to be ready to accept and live with anything, be it contempt or praise, welcome or indifference. You can even be left to take care of everything yourself. If you don't expect anything from anyone, then there is no problem. And that is it for today. We are going to resume Against the Defilements by Phra Ajahn Suchart Abhijato on page 220 next time. This recording was recording number 10. We're going to resume with recording number 11 on page 220. I'll see you next time with Metta. Bye-bye.